Brad Winderbaum, this is probably what Feige was upset about, talking to Screen Rant about a rumored X-Men Academy show. There is an X-Men feature in development right now, so that is the focus of X-Men currently.
Winderbaum.
Welcome back to the Breakroom. Marvel may have recently released Brave New World, but it's always a busy world with tons of updates that we should move through on this midweek headlines episode. Woo! No graphic because I forgot. There it is. Of course, I'm Evan, a newcomer to the channel, as some people may know. John, that one's for John. And joining me today, we have John Costa.
I'm also new.
Yeah, John's also new. And Brandon Barrick.
You're no Steve Rogers.
You're no Steve Rogers.
Oh my God, that was incredible.
That line lives rent-free in my head.
Yeah, wow.
You're no Steve Rogers.
And he's good. He's so good at it. I also think about the time he says Captain America off screen.
Sure.
Captain America.
Sure. I don't want to rehash Cap 4, but I still can't get over how good Harrison Ford is at just being angry.
Yeah, he's the best part, and him and Carl Lumley, the old guys, really do.
Old guys holding it down.
The oldies.
Yeah. They're not expendable, right? That's what that movie's about.
Also starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, we were just talking about that guy.
That's not even a pre-stream joke reference. That's a pre-stream.
Yeah. He's got a famous son now, you know.
Whoa, he's got a great butt. I've seen it twice.
I've seen it
thrice.
It's true.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Once was on fire.
Yeah.
I was making sort of an illusion that maybe we'd hooked up in the past.
Okay.
Which is not true.
Gotcha.
All right. Of course, we are 1 week out from Daredevil Born Again, and if you missed our live stream, check out yesterday's video if you haven't already.
It was good. It was such a good discussion.
We get into the upcoming show, what we learned about season 2, and a Punisher special, and our final predictions for the season. And on New Rockstars, the primer for Daredevil just dropped. So if you haven't been watching all the Easter egg breakdowns, go watch them, but also watch the primer. It's very thorough. Such a great job over there that Eric put together all these recaps of all these series that you should check out and what happened. So get caught up on that.
Yeah, and as Daredevil comes out every day on Wednesdays after the episodes drop, we'll be here on the Breakroom talking about those episodes, taking your questions live from the audience. Won't that be so much fun, having these great discussions? We'll also, on the New Rockstars channel, the night the episodes drop, we'll have reactions from Eric and Jessica. And after we do our live discussion on the Breakroom channel on Wednesdays, on New Rockstars, we'll have full breakdowns of the episodes with Eric and Jessica as well.
Erica and Jessica.
Jessica.
You don't need to cut to me for that.
No, cut to him. Can we also get a Brian, can we get a graphic? Can we do a shame graphic?
We used to have a canceled graphic.
Yeah.
But not for me.
That graphic got canceled, I believe.
Oh, that's right.
There we go. Why don't we start with some TV-related projects? Obviously, lots of things in the news because of Daredevil coming out. Brad Winderbaum recently said that he's very excited for Okoye to return, but indicated that the Okoye series might be canceled. Before we talk about that, there's other futures of certain shows that I want to get to.
Okay.
Speaking of this article was a real Winderbaum. I've been waiting all day to say that, and I wish it had come out better.
Yeah. Did you, in the shower, were you thinking about it?
I didn't know I was going to be in the show when I was taking a shower this morning, so no.
Okay.
Oh.
Come back. No, come back. What were you going to say?
Eric walked in to just shake his head at that.
We've been bad so far.
What's this
maybe just me.
You got a mouse in your pocket, John?
What's happening? What's going on?
I just want to say I am very proud of you. I think Winderbaum is excellent.
Hey, anyone can have that one for free.
No, it's yours. Patented, and you should tell him to change his name spelling to B-O-M-B. I think it's really good.
But he'll never get through airport security after that, you know? I will say, I wonder if Kevin Feige has been upset with Winderbaum. All of that stuff has been approved, I'm sure. But if I were Feige, I'd be like, I was saving that announcement for holiday.
Oh, true. Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of updates that he's given, you know, like Agatha, he was saying, speaking to Entertainment Weekly, he was saying, a show like Agatha to me is concept-based. Yes, a second season for sure is something that we would want to do, but let's not rush it. Let's get the right idea and then make it. And And then he also gave quotes about Hawkeye. He says it's another one that feels like you can make a second season of that show because it's Christmas, it's Clint and Kate. You can kind of revisit it whenever, and we're looking for opportunities to do that. But as we develop things for the future, I think they're going to be designed to be multiple seasons, have more of a pattern, and be able to be released annually. Kind of sounds like TV, huh?
Kind of sounds like TV. I do want to talk about the first part of that quote because I think it's so funny that he was like, Christmas is a key element to a Hawkeye season 2. Is it just that New York is extra dangerous during Christmas time, or
I wonder.
You think that it's Shane Black got into Brad Winderbaum's head, and
it might be
everything needs to be Christmas?
It might be the Shane Black of it all. It might just be how he sees season 1, how it kind of came together. That might have been the impetus for the whole show, right? Like, we know it'll be Christmas time, and that, Christmas means family, right? And it's all about like kind of Clint wanting to step away, but also finding like a protege, and maybe he sees that as like a viewing event for fans because Marvel Television puts something out. They love a Christmas release, right?
Yeah.
Whether it be What If or Hawkeye or Book of Boba Fett was like a Christmas release. Again, not Marvel, but it's Disney Plus television. So, and all of this response too was from Entertainment Weekly being like, "Hey, is Marvel going to start doing more multi-series shows?"
Yeah,
because they really haven't. I mean, Loki, yes, got 2 seasons, but that was not pitched as a multi-season show. That was supposed to be a limited series. Daredevil, originally, when Daredevil Born Again was put together, it was like 18 episodes for 1 season. Yeah. When they changed showrunners and writers, that's when they kind of broke it up into 2 seasons.
Right.
And then the success critically of Agatha all along, I say critically in that its streaming numbers were not very high, but fans seemed to really enjoy it. Critics liked it. When they submitted it for awards, they did not submit it as a limited series. They submitted it as a regular series, like a regular comedy series. That kind of leaves the door open for a second season. But then you have like Patti LuPone saying Jack Schaefer doesn't do second seasons.
Yeah.
So it's kind of up in the air about what is going to happen.
That was kind of the case with Loki too, right? I think the original like showrunner, head writer initially was like, Kate
Herron had pitched the show, and that season 1 was her idea, and like they kind of changed the ending of season 1. And they asked if she wanted to come back for season 2, and she was like, "No, I told the story I wanted to tell."
Yeah.
And they used a lot of her design elements going forward.
But Loki's a good example, right? That even when you have something that's very driven like that season 2 can still deliver. And I'd be very curious to see what an Agatha season 2 looks like.
Well, and you have this quote in the script, but to Brad Winderbaum's point, Agatha season 1 was such a like high concept show.
Yeah.
I think here's the quote. A show like Agatha to me is concept based. Yes, a second season for sure, something that we would want to do, but let's not rush it. Let's get the right idea and then make it, which is, obviously as fans, that's the approach that I would want to see. How do you do a second season of Agatha? You're not going to go down the witch's road again. Right. She's a ghost. Like what, I don't know how you deliver on that. Obviously,
there's already a show called Ghost too. How are they going to do it?
That. It's on CBS, competing network. My roommate has auditioned for that show 5 times.
You know what the problem is?
I really hope you get one.
Oh, okay.
What's the problem, Brandon?
He's alive.
He's not actually.
Oh. No.
I didn't want another roommate, so
Evan, what about Moon Knight?
What about Moon Knight? Yes, we just saw Moon Knight in What If Season 3, but when speaking to comicbook.com, Brad Winderbaum said, moving forward, our priorities have shifted. We're making shows that can exist as annual releases, more like television. More like television. Sorry, use the wrong intonation there, I imagine. I would love to see Moon Knight Season 2, but there are plans for Moon Knight, more plans for Moon Knight down the road. Seemingly indicates that it's not going to be a Season 2 of Moon Knight. Yeah. That character is going to appear somewhere else. And even, kind of jumping back to this like potential Okoye series being canceled, one that I believe we hadn't really heard much about.
Right.
This, it seems like the TV shows being kind of like homework, big air quotes around that, for more casual audience may leave people like kind of confused in like the events of those series and what transpired in order to like get to the movies. Is there a way that we can like successfully link the TV's shows and the movies in a way that doesn't feel like it's a lot of work? How are you guys feeling about this?
I mean, it is an interesting question because it is extra work you're asking your audience to do, right?
Yeah.
Asking a movie-going audience to say, watch a whole series before they see a movie, That's a lot. It's not done very often. It reminds me, the X-Files kind of did this, where the first X-Files movie picked up where that season of the show had ended and kind of set up the next season of the show and fits in there in this weird little position. Media was different at that time.
Well, and X-Files show
had
first.
Tens of millions of viewers.
Movie second.
Right. The show had been going for multiple seasons, all that kind of stuff. And what I think the problem here is, like, for something like WandaVision, which leads into Multiverse of Madness, technically, sort of. But they kind of had to add it in reshoots, right? After the success of WandaVision, they brought in Elizabeth Olsen for more reshoots to Multiverse of Madness, and probably we know that story changed a lot over the years as directors changed and so forth. But we don't know how much of that final result was because of all the changes or all the success of WandaVision that they wanted to change the Wanda character in that movie.
Yeah, reportedly the rewrites for Wanda, maybe they didn't know exactly how WandaVision was going to end when they were doing that. So I am sure they knew that they wanted more Wanda, but maybe didn't know exactly how. I mean, my cynical response to like this question is the shows just need to be better.
Yeah,
I agree.
General audiences will watch good shows, right? We saw that with The Penguin. That's now getting nominated for a bunch of awards. As a fan, I'm still tuning in and enjoying it, and the audience that's watching this video is probably saying like, "Well, I really love them," and that I don't want to take away from your enjoyment of them. If we're talking about the millions and millions and millions of people that Marvel wants to go to see their movies, if the problem is that you have to see a show first, it's not a problem if the show is must-watch television.
Yeah,
right.
I'm trying to think of like if Serenity and Firefly are like a good example of this. If you just go into the Serenity movie, does it make sense if you've never watched Firefly?
I mean, we can try that this weekend. I guess I'm gonna watch Serenity.
Never watched Serenity or Firefly?
Yeah, I was too busy playing sports.
Take your glasses off.
Playing sports.
There you go.
Now, did you do MX mode in those sports? Or?
Yeah, I was MYK.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
MYK. That's cool.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, but I think you make a good point, John. It's like if the shows are really good and really well put together, people are going to go to them. And Brad's kind of comments this week, I think, come on the heels of he's been having much easier interviews, I would say, than he maybe in the past couple of years because the embargo for Daredevil, press embargo for Daredevil had lifted and it's getting great reviews, right? Yeah. And so I think he's been having a much easier time in these interviews and feeling very proactive and feeling very good about the future of Marvel television. So it's easier for him to kind of be like, yeah, we'd love to do another season of the show. Well, let's bring these characters back. But I think in interviews where you're promoting a show that maybe is not getting great reviews, it's tough to be as optimistic about the outlook for
That's
Marvel
true.
television.
Yeah, harder to make not even promises, but just tease those things as even being real. Because obviously, people like us and fans like latch on to certain things and are really excited when things happen, and really sad when things don't.
Because there's every Marvel series, even the ones I've liked the least. There's been moments I enjoy in them. I think Moon Knight had great moments. I think it had rough moments. Do I want another season of that show? I don't know.
Would you prefer Midnight Sun show, Midnight Sun's movie?
I think
just having that character be in Doomsday Secret Wars kind of around.
Overall, I prefer the movies over the series, unless they can figure out the series a little better. If you have a series like Loki, we have a clear vision. They're not doing Loki season 2 had no reshoots. Like, they knew what they wanted to do. They went in, they did it. You know what I mean? It's got a good mix of practical, a good mix of visual effects. All the main characters don't have to be CGI'd, so you're not... That's what I think hurts things like She-Hulk, where your main character has to have so much CG. It's so expensive. Yeah. That's... I want to see them in action. And, like, a show like Daredevil, where he's a street-level fighter, there's never lasers coming out of his eyes or glowing anything.
Although some of the reviews we have not seen anything.
Yeah, I haven't seen any
on this panel from Daredevil season 4 or just Daredevil.
I think they're calling it season 1 because
Vincent D'Onofrio was calling it season 4 earlier, so we haven't seen any of that. But I have heard some of the early reviews. They're being a little bit more liberal with how Daredevil utilizes, what are they called?
The batons?
Whatever you call them. And I think the CGI, people have said, are a little wonky on that. But, that's the give and take. You make it more comic accurate and a little bit more fun. You have to give up. You can't bend physics when you're on a movie set.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I mean, like some comments from our live chat right now. Beware the Dread saying something that I think a lot of people have felt. Marvel's main problem with the show is I feel that they try to make them like long extended movies instead of actual TV show format.
And they've addressed that, which I think is great. And I think this shift to doing seasonal, every year type of television is going to take them away from that because they can make a plan for a second season or a third season. They don't feel restrained to 6 episodes of television. We need to wrap our story up this
100%.
fast.
Well, and the creatives have addressed that by going on strike, right? And kind of forcing their hand to being like, no, you need to hire showrunners. You need to hire full writers' rooms.
Yeah.
And I agree, Evan. Like, I think Marvel, initially when they started their television stuff, they were kind of proud about, like, these are just movies that we've broken into 6 episodes. It's like, those don't make good episodes of television.
Yeah.
And even when they were doing network television, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, like, those were better episodes of television, right? Like, each episode felt like a full arc, had its own story. Whether or not you like those shows, I don't know. But they were at least making better television series because it is different than a movie. It's not just taking 2 hours and cutting them up into 35-minute segments.
100%. Also, like, just about your She-Hulk question too, right? Or She-Hulk point earlier. Like, if they need the CGI to look a certain way because they want to ensure like movie level quality to it, or like the character looks the same when they're in movies, that means they have to look pretty close to it in the TV shows. Just gonna like the budgets are gonna like balloon and get more expensive.
And I think She-Hulk looked really good. Like, a lot of those sequences looked great. It's just that like the uncanny valley of it all felt interesting. And that show, you had a great creative behind it in Jessica Gao, but they even came in and were like, no, we're moving these episodes around and you got to change this, you got to change that. And so here we are.
Before we get to the rest of the video, we wanted to take a second to thank today's sponsors like Mando. I'm actually wearing Mando right now. And I gotta say, I'm still smelling good after recording for a very long time. Mando's whole body deodorant comes in 3 forms: invisible spray, solid stick, and invisible cream. It's clinically proven 72-hour odor control, so it's perfect for long days at the office when we're just talking and talking and talking here at the desk. Since using my Mando, my stink is on the brink, my funk has been debunked, and my stench is quenched. And this is coming from Berg, who has to smell me sometimes. Mando stops odor before it starts, and it's safe to use on your entire body, pits, package, feet, and everywhere in between. Mando comes in 4 cologne quality scents: Bourbon Leather, Mount Fuji, Pro Sport, and Clover Woods. I personally love the Bourbon Leather. A lot of people are like, this one is like, it's got leather in the name, but hey, it smells great. I highly recommend using Bourbon Leather. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code BREAKROOM that equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code BREAKROOM at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. We also want to thank HelloFresh today, America's #1 meal kit. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. HelloFresh is a game changer, particularly after a long day of work when you don't have the energy to do all the shopping, the chopping, the cooking, and cleaning for a full meal. HelloFresh makes it easy to find time to eat well with 50 wholesome, hassle-free meals to choose from each week delivered to your door. There's over 100 add-on items you can add to your weekly box, like quick breakfast, packable snacks, and beverages, and more. Plus, for those nights when you're really in a rush, HelloFresh's new ready-made meals go from the fridge to your fork in 3 minutes. We've been using HelloFresh for ages now. One of my favorites is the udon stir fry with pulled pork and vegetables. So good. It's quicker, cheaper, and tastier than delivery. Also, the Southwest style chicken bowl is really good. The chicken is super moist, flavorful, and has just the right amount of kick. Get up to 10 free meals and a free high protein item for life at HelloFresh.com/HelloFreshPodcast. 1 item per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's up to 10 free HelloFresh meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/HelloFreshPodcast. Thanks again to HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit, for sponsoring our channel. Rebel Mermaid also in the chat saying, contrary to popular belief, you didn't need to see Miss Marvel before seeing The Marvels. All the important details you need to know about Kamala was mentioned in the movie. That means if they have to establish this character in the movie as well to make you love them as much as you wanted to, you love them in the show, maybe it detracts from what else the movie could be doing too. Totally. It's a weird kind of push and pull.
Because even in Multiverse of Madness, you have Doctor Strange hand waving away WandaVision, being like, I don't care about all that.
Mm-hmm. And then, we still got to get those kids singing their little ice cream song. You know? Ice cream. And lastly, there's a lot of rumors around X-Men. Oh. What will the MCU do with them? Oh. And we're getting a little closer to knowing, especially on the TV and movie side. This was interesting. Brad Winderbaum, this is probably what Feige was upset about.
Tick Winderbaum.
Screen Rant was like, hey, we saw there was a rumor about
What? That doesn't
work. Tick Winderbaum is pretty good.
Or is it Winder Tick Bomb?
That's better. It's closer.
I don't know. We're workshopping it, folks.
How many people know what that's a reference to?
They don't have. They know that bombs go tick tick boom.
Fair enough.
You think he's? You think
open up Netflix?
He's doing all these interviews. You think he's turning Feige? Never mind.
I don't get that one.
That one.
It was tight. I didn't remember the name of the song, and turning 30. Whatever. Okay, so talking to Screen Rant about a rumored X-Men Academy show. There was, if you've been online, you may have seen rumors that this may be happening. Brad said, I think anybody could say anything online.
Shut up, Brad.
In quote.
That's us.
Wait a second.
No, we don't
Brad,
expect these rumors.
Come on the show, Brad. And it hits the rumor mill and people get excited. Right now, we are still working on X-Men 97 Season 2. It's coming together amazingly, and the scripts for Season 3 are insane. That is certainly scratching the X-Men itch for me on television. There is an X-Men feature in development right now, so that is the focus of X-Men currently.
Winterbomb.
So that's really interesting, right? Like, we know that they were like taking meetings for writers for a movie, an X-Men film, and obviously these rumors about an X-Men Academy thing are going on. It feels like Marvel really has to stick the landing with X-Men, right? Like, we are, approaching the end of the multiverse saga, and I say approaching the end, we still got 2 more years? Like 2 more years. But as this chapter closes and a new one opens, I think one of the things the multiverse saga has struggled with, obviously that we had the pandemic, we had strikes, but is establishing characters for an endgame-like payoff, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if we've all grown close to these new batch of characters and the kind of old batch of characters. We haven't seen them often enough to keep these things, keep our relations with them as strong. So with a new batch of characters with the X-Men, it seems like really important to stick the landing here. Do you think a feature film is the right way to go? Do you think they would ever do another television? Is there a series, a live action or animated? Is there a problem where we have an animated version of X-Men characters and then we have a live action feature? Let's unpack this.
Yeah, I mean, the X-Men is like the last jewel in Marvel's crown to put in there, right? They finally,
you had a whole they got gauntlet analogy that we could have.
We've done it.
Okay.
They really want to. It's their crown jewels, right? Like it's they worked hard to get them back. That they've got them back, and them going with Fantastic Four kind of first is interesting because I think Fantastic Four is a classic Marvel property. People are very familiar with the idea of it, mainly because of The Incredibles. For a lot of more casual comic book movie fans. They knew there were Fantastic Four movies. Maybe they saw them, maybe they didn't. But they know the archetype of these kind of characters.
Yeah.
Them starting with the Fantastic Four kind of makes sense because they can do what they want to do with them in a more liberal way. The X-Men are, Fox was making movies for 20 years.
Two, 3 animated shows as well.
Yeah. Hugh Jackman is as Wolverine is so ingrained in kind of like pop culture. So that's their most difficult one to tackle. And I think giving it some breathing room from the end of like the Fox version of it to now is smart to give them time to think about what they want to do. But it is going to be something they really have to nail. I think they should start with movies for the big characters.
Yeah.
And if for like a series, like either focus on one mutant or if you want to do like a school thing, I don't think it should be, Cyclops and Jean Grey.
Sure, not
that's a big commitment to make on a series.
A new batch of characters that maybe like comic fans are really into, and that mainstream audiences or casual audiences rather may not have gotten exposure to, or like may have been like, isn't that a cameo that New Rockstars pointed out in a video once? You know?
Yeah, but if the animated X-Men series is basically doing that, like, hey, you're new to the school, and this is the school, and this is what it is, like, you don't want to do that in live action too, because I feel like that X-Men 97, it is a continuation of the storyline from the original 90s cartoon, but it also was like restarting, right? It was like, hello, Sunspot, you're the audience surrogate. We're going to show you these characters. Here's what we do here. And then they got away from the school aspect, right? Because it's not really what that show's about. But I think if you want to do it as like, hi, welcome to the school. This is Charles Xavier. Nice to meet you. Like, that's going to be a little jarring for an audience that is still used to seeing Patrick Stewart as Xavier.
Yeah. It seems like maybe it would have to be. I mean, obviously, you know, the Krakoa run and the current run in the comics, I think, did a big reimagining of the X-Men. It could be interesting to go like that route as well and take it out of the school setting, but that feels so emblematic of these characters. But it is hard to be like, well, how far back do we start? You know? Yeah.
I also think that like Marvel has come out and been very clear that they are starting to now develop movies and television shows that may not come to fruition. And Brad shutting this rumor down, very possible that it's not on their slate or what have you, but I also think there's a world in which they have 3 or 4 X-Men TV shows that are all sort of in development and they need to figure out which one they want to choose.
Yeah.
And that might be what works best for them creatively, what works best for them on a financial timeline, what actors they can sign for their movies and get them to sign for TV shows. There's a lot of like weird logistics. They can't be like pure storytellers here.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if like we do see an X-Men TV show at some point, but they're not ready as a studio to talk about that because they don't know exactly what direction they're going in, or they feel like they could shoot a pilot and cancel it and not bring it to series or whatever it is. So again, I think that there's going to be, I hope that there's going to be a real kind of like a real clear point in which Marvel Television and Marvel Studios starts to look a little bit better as they've learned a lot of these lessons. I think we're going to start to see it with Daredevil Born Again. Obviously that started in the kind of like Bob Chapek-y Disney Plus era, but you know, we've heard publicly that it's really good. We've heard privately that it was fixed and is really good, which is, you know, more important to me. Sometimes it's a little hard to gauge how critics feel about things. Maybe you're a Marvel hater and you just are, but you still review it for your job. Maybe you're a super fan and you review it for your job. It's a little hard to gauge, but when you hear it from people internally, it's like, okay, cool. It's a little easier to trust. And so, you know, we still have Ironheart coming out later this year, which I truly hope is so good. Yeah. But it's hard to have faith in that show that shot 4 years ago and it's still not out.
3 or 4, right? Yeah. But
so we'll see, you know.
Well, and them going to a more traditional television model where you develop shows, you maybe shoot pilots, and they don't ever get released. That's a little tough to do now in a world where like
there's
the entertainment media is so hyper aware of everything you're doing. Like, I am genuinely shocked that the like failed Game of Thrones pilot has never been released or like seen the light of day.
Has it not?
Right? I've never seen.
I thought
anything
it was on
from
YouTube.
It. Oh, okay. It might be.
I could be wrong.
The Jon Snow.
No. They shot the pilot of Game of Thrones. Maybe we're talking about
House
two different
of the
things.
Dragon. Like,
we're talking about
what
two
House of the
different
Dragon became. They shot something before that and then totally retooled it. Like, it's so hard to do that now.
Yeah.
And maybe it was easier to do it even like 10 or 15 years ago.
Because they shot Game of Thrones, the pilot, and then it got greenlit and they reshot the whole thing.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Because I remember there was a pilot episode of a TV show about mutants, live action, that aired on television and then like never saw anything else from it. This was in the 90s, and like you can look that up. It's weird. It's very weird. But now it's like if Marvel Television like shot a pilot, everyone would know about it. And like for them to not follow through on that is like really tough. So there's a lot more pressure for them. If they're going to the shooting phase, they got to be ready to like do the show. Right?
Yeah.
You know, I can see a world in which Marvel Studios doesn't shoot pilots because you're right. There's a lot of risk involved there, and it's very expensive. what we saw from Fantastic Four at Comic-Con, which was like, we built a couple of sets, we got the actors
shot that like
in
weeks
here,
before.
we shot it really quickly. It's like kind of a tone piece. I can see them sort of like bringing in some creative people and just like doing like a 5 or 10 minute thing just to see how they like the tone,
like the Ant-Man
like
camera
kind of
test
thing. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the direction that they move in.
Maybe. And I'm not surprised to hear that a Marvel or an X-Men film is in development, because I'm sure that's been in development since the day they signed the paperwork to get the X-Men.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And like we were saying before, just depends on like where they start and which characters they decide to follow. I mean, we talked about this a little bit on Monday with DC. One of the quotes that Safran said was like, before we took over, there was a lot of different teams, like creative teams doing this different things with the same characters. And it was like kind of like not ruining, but chipping away at the unity of the brand or cohesiveness. So my fear is that people might feel that way if there's the same cast of characters, animated X-Men, live action X-Men, that are doing things but different worlds, stuff like that. I mean, there's a few super chats I want to get to. Tony McKell sending in $20, supporting the community. Thank you so much. Listening as I drive home, but I have one thing to say. We, the fans, want Wanda, of course. Everybody wants Wanda.
Give me Wanda. Mother!
Tim R says save money with less shows for better CGI. Yeah, I think maybe there's some thinking there that could we can talk about a little bit, expand a little bit more. And Keston B, saying my question is, does the universe have to continue to connect? Why do we keep having to have sagas or connect to the universe? Totally.
That's
it. Yeah,
and that's the biggest thing I think for the mutants is like how Secret Wars ends. Are they going to end with saying like, oh, there's no more multiverses, there's just one universe, and now it's very different? Or is it like, no, we're going to have pockets now, and like, we're going to do the mutants, but they're not in the 616.
Yeah.
Could you do an X-Men show that's like the mutants in the 838, 20 years before the events of Multiverse of Madness? That jive with people, right?
Yeah.
This universe where the Fantastic Four are right now, could you do a thing about the X-Men, and that's them?
Yeah.
They'll never be in the 616, and it's just like a totally separate story.
Yeah.
Will audiences like accept something like that? Marvel's very proud of their interconnected storylines in their universe where everyone's in the same place, but they're already testing the waters of like, let's get out of here.
Yeah, it does feel like it's a weird kind of like Jenga tower that became like a fork or like a cactus, and you're like, wait, if we pull one thing, it's all gonna like fall apart.
Every time they put out a new movie or series, we're like, was this person alive during the blip?
Yeah.
Where were they during the events of the Battle of New York? Why haven't they said anything about Tiamat? It's like they've created their own problem by making everything so connected.
That's why I think that Marvel Studios will probably shift away from the great work they've done over the last 15 years or so, because they can afford to, in a certain sense. They have their core audience, right? Obviously, they want to expand on that audience. We talk a lot internally about like, how does Marvel Studios capture a younger audience, right? Like my dad took me to Iron Man in theaters, right? He's dead now. It's been a long time.
Are those two things related?
Yeah. Iron Man went and that was it, unfortunately.
Papa?
Evan? Sorry, it's been a long time. I've started to joke about it. But who is the person taking, that 9-year-old, I wasn't 9, but whatever, to the movie theater now? They need those kids to be invested in the storytelling, but those kids were not born when these movies were coming out. And so I think that Marvel's going to want to keep their core audience, introduce a new set of, I don't think we're going to go to a new universe, but I think they're going to sunset this chapter of their story. Yeah. And I think that that's healthy, because there is too much happening right now, and it is hard for general audiences to keep up, and it's hard for obsessives to keep up sometimes. We don't have perfect brains, and we sometimes have to rely on the chat to remember, we were just saying, I was like, is Kate, we were talking about Hawkeye, is Kate's mom is in jail, right? Her dad's dead, her mom's in jail. I think that's right, but I couldn't. If you made me bet my life savings on it, I wouldn't do it.
I couldn't remember if Hulk was able to turn back now or if he was always Smart Hulk again.
I think he's stuck.
Because they introduced an inhibitor, but then that got broken, and I was like, when did that? I don't know. But, I mean, yeah, you make a good point, John, that, like, you want to get new audiences invested in this without them having to do 30 years of homework. I mean, Star Wars has towed this line fairly well.
But much smaller body of work.
Sure. But there's still a lot of research you got to do. Once you start getting into Star Wars, you're like, well, when did you start? Because there's also X, Y, and Z you need to consider.
But a lot of the stories are a little bit better than standing on their own currently than some of the like previous films that have come out within the last couple years.
But the Marvel Comics has always dealt with this issue too, right? Peter Parker's been young for so long, right?
Yeah.
Or they find a new way to get him young again. With the Xmen, right? They've found a way to make Cable young and bring him back and have just young Cable around.
Yeah.
Like they're always kind of playing with those ideas because at the end of the day, you want to have Tony Stark around. So how do we keep de-aging Tony Stark so that he can exist?
Of course you want that, but you don't need that right now in this version of Marvel Studios because thankfully for them, the Fox merger happened, and you now have a new group of absolute A-list characters to pull from. I would love to see more Tony Stark. I would love to see Iron Man in these movies, but if you're telling me that you're not going to get an Iron Man movie because we're going to be getting... I was about to say Dark Phoenix. No, but if we're gonna get great X-Men stories, I can be patient. I can be patient, and I don't even need Tony Stark to be in the MCU. We can have someone inspired by Tony Stark to come and be Iron Man, right? Like they do in the comics all the time. We have Ironheart coming in later.
Yeah, and there's a lot of weight on any actor that would then pick up one of the roles, right? Like moving forward, like a new Captain America, a new actor to play a new Steve Rogers Captain America from whatever universe. I wanted to also get some comments from the chat. Marjo32 saying, it's crazy how spoiled we are as audiences. Are we really going to throw the Marvel baby with the COVID strike bathwater? Yeah, I mean, it is tough, right? Like for a little bit over more than 10 years, what Marvel Studios did was insane. Just like Impossible was a cultural phenomenon, whether or not you are a super fan or not, right? Both super fans got to see this thing play out on the big screen, while casual fans got to get invested in something that maybe they would have never gotten invested with before, with a group of characters that were really on like the B team or C team of Marvel characters, like before Spider-Man came out. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think all of us say, like, you know, we want good movies and good stories, and, you know, with the inner, we want to make sure that things, or we would hope that as fans that we can see that the good stories and great stories can be told while the interconnectivity can still work as well.
I think that's a really hard balance to strike, because as a consumer of this content, that's kind of a gross sentence, as a fan of these movies, my preference is different from a lot of people's preferences. My preference is I don't give a schrank about the interconnected stuff. It's fun and I like it, but I would much rather have a great story.
Yeah, don't sacrifice story for
a cameo. You know what I mean? But the culture, and we contribute to this at New Rockstars and at the Breakroom, is how do they do this weave?
Yeah.
Because, you know, that's something that's fun to talk about, and it is an interesting, unique part of how they tell stories.
Yeah.
And it's fun when they pull it off.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would much prefer them just tell a great story, like we've seen in Loki, and, you know, maybe wasn't as successful in something like Echo, where you try to bring in Daredevil and Kingpin and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I would have loved just a great Echo story.
The expectations of seeing those characters kind of detracts from this new character that you want to prop up. Doesn't serve that character in a way that like sets her up for some great success, especially when you're gonna binge drop it like that. Okay.
Especially.
Okay.
Especially.
Okay.
Let's see. And one last thing here. Rough Landing. Tony saying, I would also love to see New Mutants done right. I think that's a very viable candidate for a new feature film. Just cycling certain team members, get some more recognizable people in as well. Or like Krakoa, Hellfire Gala. Oh, a Hellfire Gala event movie. That's pretty interesting. I like that.
Just like a
theory.
party? And
Yeah, it's a party, but they all got powers and then all these things. That could be interesting. I like that. Decides the future of what's gonna happen with the X-Men or something if they're leaning more the Krakoa angle. Interesting.
Would you be excited if they just whatever universe Maria Rambeau wound up in? They just like no, let's just see what these X-Men are up to, and they just pick up a storyline there. Or something like that.
That would be really cool.
Just keep giving Kelsey Grammer his paycheck.
I mean, Kelsey Grammer as Beast was inspired casting, and I will never let it go.
Just because Frasier reboot didn't work out, he
needs the money, guys. No,
it did look good.
Go back and watch X-Men 3, which is awful, but man, Kelsey Grammer as Beast is great in that movie. He starts quoting Henry V and is like, forget it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Shri is asking, last thing on the X-Men before we move on, which character or storyline or events would you all like to see from the MCU X-Men?
Here's what I don't want to see.
Oh, okay. That's not
Do not start with Dark Phoenix because I don't trust you. I've been burned too many times, literally and physically, by the Dark Phoenix story. I don't know. Don't make a new story. I don't know.
I don't know. X-Men has been played out a lot.
It is so tough, man.
Yeah.
Though I did one thing I really liked was X-Men First Class, kind of going back to the '60s. Like that was fun. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed that. Like an old school like X-Men story might be a lot of fun. But man, I don't know what storyline I'd want to see play out. Honestly, there's been so many. They're all so brutal.
Yeah.
But I mean that classic like Sentinels and just telling me that story with like Master Mold is like fun. I don't know, something like that. Keep it simple.
Yeah. There's obviously a lot of characters I would want to see, but I think it'd be so cool if they kicked it off with Apocalypse being like this overarching big bad.
Okay.
They don't beat in movie 1, right? Or they don't kill him, right? But he's like, I'll be back with 4 new horsemen. That would be pretty cool if he's like the kind of threat that sets up their little story, as they can keep fighting. But then it's hard because then you want to see Magneto.
I really want to see Magneto.
Magneto.
I mean, I know
they're having origin story problems.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they are, but as fans,
it's tough.
Talk about it.
He needs to survive. It needs to be a survivor of the Holocaust. Don't change any of that. Say his X genes allowed him to live for so long. Whatever. But like a story where it's the Brotherhood of Mutants are there first. And that kind of causes the X-Men to form, I think would be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like a world where most of the mutants that the public are aware of are bad dudes and ladies, right?
Yeah.
And it's Charles being like, no, we need to stop this.
I need a resistance force.
Yeah, and maybe Charles starts off as like a bad dude and like realizes this is not the way to go.
Yeah.
We've become the bad guys, whatever. Something like that. I don't know.
Are we the baddies?
Are we the baddies? Listen, I've been reading everyone's mind, and they're pretty scared. Yeah, I think we're the bad guys.
The Ultron, I went on the internet for 5 minutes thing.
Listen, I just got created, read the internet, gotta go. You guys are gotta go.
Professor X is like, that guy's thinking about perverted shit.
I also love this giant Tyrion Lannister in the chat saying, you can make Knives Out, but it's the Hellfire Club.
Oh, baby.
That's fun as hell.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean when I say, like, I would love that Marvel Studios to just focus on like really good stories. I don't think they'll ever do a bottle episode type of movie like those Knives Out movies are. Obviously, they take place in more than just a single location, but for the most part, it is like put a bunch of people in a room, solve murder.
Yeah.
Which I love, but I don't think Marvel Studios feels comfortable telling stories like DC Studios seems comfortable doing, right?
Yeah.
Like the Batman. I don't think we'll ever get something like that from this iteration of Marvel Studios. Like we watched Brave New World.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if we saw an Isaiah Bradley prequel movie? I mean, it'd be trashy as fuck, but it would be a really interesting flick. I don't think they'll ever do it.
Yeah.
What if at the end of Secret Wars, James Gunn James Gunn himself, he comes out of a sling ring portal and he goes, guys, there's this thing called Elseworlds, and You can have but just know there's going to be other stories happening in other universes, and you may, as characters, may never know. But there's a lot of people out there watching, and they're going to have a good time.
I think that's probably close to what we'll see. And then Sean Gunn kills him, and then we end the MCU.
As Rocket Raccoon. They take the CGI off.
Yeah, he's just in the blue suit with the dots on.
And it's got like a little raccoon head up here.
And
Bradley Cooper is off screen.
Yeah, he's got a microphone. Who let this guy in? That was rough. That was rough. But
it was better than I thought it was going to be when you put your...
I think these...
That's Rex Blood.
That's pretty good. That wasn't bad. I don't have one. I need to go to Mission Breakout a couple more times.
Yeah. I think... Nope.
I need you to put up your hands. My hands don't stand. That's for my park heads out there.
All right, some final news updates to kind of round this out. Brandon and Eric just had a great conversation about Doomsday and Secret Wars and what's ahead for that on the sneak peek, so keep an eye out for that this Sunday. But, we did get news that Doomsday and Secret Wars will be shooting back-to-back in London this year. Mm-hmm. Guys, I'm going to be taking off work for 3 months. Okay. At least I'm going to be in London, unrelated.
Are you in the movie?
Unrelated?
Hey, who's to say?
And there was a rumor that they're going to use Spider-Man's Tom Holland's stunt double a lot for this film since he'll be masked up a lot. Are you
Sports Evan?
I'm
not saying I can. Do a backflip. All right,
do a backflip.
Here we go. Brian, why'd you cut out the backflip,
man? Brian, that's effed up.
That was rude. I don't know how we know right now live that it was cut out, but that was messed up.
That was crazy. On a Jimmy Kimmel interview recently, though, Chris Pratt did say they would make good on the Star-Lord will return promise at the end of Guardians 3. I mean, Star-Lord what is his reasoning?
Hold up, but
why?
First of all,
why would come back?
Second of all, it was in response to are you going to be in Avengers Doomsday? And he was cagey about the answer and was like, I don't know, but it said he was going to return. So I think that's probably a safe bet.
They also asked him on the red carpet for the Electric State, where they asked the Russos about Doomsday and stuff. And he was like, I think the fans really want to see him come back, which is good answer, my guy.
Depends on the fans.
The fans are demanding to see Star-Lord.
My hands don't scan.
My hands don't scan. Yours do.
He comes back and he's like, I remember all you guys from a year ago or something. We all fought in this big battle.
I was trying to find my ex, but she was punching me in the face. It was a weird day.
And we all decided to just work together. It was really weird, right?
But I think you make a good point. I brought this up before. Does Star-Lord bring his tools, his tech to Earth? What good is
Well, I mean, why not? It's basically just a hearing aid and some guns.
That's true.
Well, I don't remember what's real and what's destroyed at this point. James Gunn was mad that the boots got destroyed, and then he's like, he just brought him back for no reason, and then he made Bucky's hand go to space, and then at the end of the movie, he's like, Star-Lord will return, and then he left the MCU.
He was like, we never saw Bucky's arm in
no,
did we? He was wearing a suit, that coward.
I think you saw
I want to see a tank top
when
Bucky.
When they hugged, when Bucky said, I love you, and Sam did not say, I love you too.
This is bad.
It's the darkest thing I've ever seen in any MCU movie.
Yeah, that was dark.
That's darker than Frank getting hit with the part of the goo and turned into goo and flushed down the toilet.
Yeah.
Brutal.
R.I.P. Frank.
Brutal.
If you don't know what we're talking about, you're not a fan.
Hideo Kojima, you know this guy?
Yeah.
He's a video game designer. Most
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding, the Metal Gear franchise. A pretty great reaction to Brave New World, I thought, on Twitter. He was saying, I watched Captain America Brave New World in IMAX. I vaguely remember Sam receiving the shield in Endgame. But when did he officially become Cap? Is it because I haven't seen the Falcon and the Winter Soldier? And what's this about the Avengers being reorganized? I'm also getting it mixed up with the Thunderbolts trailer. I think this is the most apt public reaction of a casual audience, of an audience member who is like, I like seeing these movies. I like people cheering. I like seeing these characters that peripherally I'm aware of because of merchandise. What is going on, you know? I
mean, my wife watched Falcon and Winter Soldier 3 years ago and was still kind of confused when she goes to see this movie and maybe saw The Incredible Hulk, but doesn't remember anything for that movie.
Yeah.
So it is so much to ask, and that gets into this thing with the series and the movies. It can be really confusing.
It's tough, and we've talked about this being hard for Marvel already on the show, but I sat in that movie and I was like, God damn, a lot of exposition about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier that we're just spilling out here. Can we move on?
Yeah.
So you have two sides of fans where half of the fans are like, Jesus Christ, I already know all this stuff. And then you have another set of fans who are like, I heard all that and I'm still confused.
Yep.
Right.
So I don't envy the screenwriters of these projects because, you know, these are 4-quadrant movies, and they have to work for every single person in the entire world.
Yeah, not enough grandmothers love The Flash. That's why The Flash failed, according to Muschietti. He said not enough white people like it. Grandmas didn't like it.
The grandmother group.
The grandmother quadrant, the mini quadrant of the big quadrant.
I don't remember what happened in Justice League. I saw the Snyder cut, but I don't know if I saw the Whedon version. Which one did the
Grandma's
Flash?
Plugged in.
Well, I watched. I'm not an idiot, John. I watched
Max. At the Oscars, the fans voted one of these things the most honorable moment. Which movie did that take place in?
When Flash entered the Flash Force, I was out of my seat. My hip shattered. I stood up so fast.
Coppola boy really has a good look to him still.
Why isn't Christopher Reeve Superman anymore? The last time I saw Superman, it was Brandon Routh. What happened?
Did you hear about this Wonder Woman game getting canceled?
Still going?
I just wanted to throw one in.
Why did Warner Brothers Studios hide the Nemesis enemy system behind a patent? Oh, I really liked Shadows of Mordor. I smashed
my hip!
And then she died.
And
then she died.
then she died.
Thank you.
Lastly here, Mahershala Ali is making a film.
What?
With Bassam Tariq.
What?
The original Blade director.
Yeah.
For Amazon.
Oh, Blade on Amazon?
It's called Razor.
Call your mother, your mother, your mother? Is that what it's called?
It's called Your Mother, Your Mother, Your Mother. That's the film. So he's working with the original director of Blade, who's not part of the project anymore. It's nice to see them, work together on something. It'll be funny if
Something
this
that will get
movie
made.
that comes out before Blade.
Absolutely it will.
But it should have been called Your Daywalker, Your Daywalker, Your
Get out of
Daywalker.
here. You only put this news story in here for that joke?
I'm with John on this one. Normally, I'm very anti-John, but
Since sometimes, I get to write things in the script and I say, that one's for me.
One for you, one for me.
One
That's
for me.
Hollywood, baby.
That's Hollywood, baby. And that's it for us today. Make sure to subscribe to the Breakroom channel here on YouTube. If you aren't, give us a follow on Twitch where we do videos like this live. Follow Breakroom NR on all socials, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and X, and Instagram again. We'll catch you later. See ya.
bye.
Bye.